What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode number 5 of the Jay and Dro Show. I'm one of your hosts, Jay Lewis, and joining me today is my fellow joystick junkie, Pedro Mirabal. What's going on, good sir?
What's up, man?
Not a whole lot. A little different recording today. We're doing it on a Saturday morning, which is pretty interesting. You were able to get your boy Jay and Dro up before noon today, so that we're already starting off good on a Saturday. So
yeah, it's early Saturday. I would rather not sleep in. Let's get this done.
You know, then you waste the weekend and stuff. So cool time to get up and do this. But we are now post E3, and a bunch of new information has been coming out. New announcements. This new Atari console got announced. Did you hear about that Atari console?
Yeah, I'm not sure what exactly, what it's meant to do. Is it like a Steam box, or do we know anything more about it other than they're just going to come out with one?
There's not a whole lot that we know about it outside of like the exterior of what it's going to look like. It has that classic Atari look, complete with the wood trim and everything. But supposedly it has the specs of, like a PS4 or an Xbox One. So it's supposed to compete with some of the higher end consoles. What do you feel about a new console coming into the market? Like, are you hyped for this? Like, what kind of games do you think we're gonna get on this thing?
I'm gonna assume it's a Steam box, because there's nothing that Atari is making exclusively. It would probably have to be all third party games. Am I hyped for a new console to enter the space? It better be good, because if it's not, then why are you sending out another piece of hardware to die?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems kind of weird, and I really don't know what to expect from this one. But yeah, I think you're probably right. It is probably some type of Steam box. But I saw that be announced right after E3, and it was pretty intriguing to me, because I feel like if it was something that was gonna be a big deal, maybe they would have dropped the announcement during E3, like, just put it out in the internet, ghost launch it, and then see how the public reacts. But they didn't do that. They waited till after E3, and they said that they showed that little 30-second video showing the outside of the console, and then that's about all we know at the moment. But we'll stay on top of it and see where this thing ends up. I'm curious to see what the controller would look like. I have a lot of questions. But we're not talking about Atari this week. This week we're talking about this news that the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 Remastered is now going to be available standalone. So when does it drop? What is that, the 26th in North America, correct?
June 27th, and it's called Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Just Modern Warfare, not Modern Warfare 2.
Oh, yeah, Modern Warfare.
Yeah.
Not only did I get the date wrong, I got the actual game wrong. But yeah, so now it's standalone, which is something that gamers were kind of hoping for when this thing launched. Alongside what was their last Call of Duty called?
Call of Duty Infinite Warfare.
Infinite Warfare. See, I'm so out of the Call of Duty world that I don't even know. But I was looking through some threads in the internet, and it seems like people are pretty 50-50 on this one. I saw a lot of people saying that Modern Warfare is one of the best shooters of all time, which is pretty accurate. And they're like, I don't mind shelling out $40 for this thing. Then there were the other people that are kind of pissed off because they said that Activision lied to them, saying that this would be something that would never be standalone. So people went ahead and bought Infinite Warfare and had to pay the extra money for this game, and said it was hidden behind a paywall. What do you think? Which side of the fence are you on?
I think that right now I'm not sure whether or not I'm going to buy the remastered version of the game, simply because I don't feel a need to go back into that world. Last year, I was strongly contemplating purchasing Infinite Warfare just for the Call of Duty Remastered, but then I thought that's just paying $80 for a game that I played years ago and didn't pay nearly as much, and nearly as much money. So for this, I really think that I'm of two minds of this, right? So I get the fact that people are angry because you essentially had to pay, $80 for the remastered game because you don't care about Infinite Warfare, right? But then again, it's standalone now, so it being a standalone remastered game, if you compare it to every other big title that's been remastered, like your Ratchet and Clank, like a Sleeping Dogs, like a Darksiders when that got remastered. $40 is essentially the going price for this type of game remastered. So it's not like they're charging you any extra. If you're angry that you purchased Infinite Warfare, which for all intents and purposes had a really good campaign mode. Multiplayer wise, it wasn't my thing, but campaign mode was pretty dope. And you had to pay, the 60 plus the 20 for the game or whatever. I mean, hey, look, you got two games for the price of, 1 1/3. So that's how I feel about that.
Yeah, and I was reading this really good article on Forbes.com, which I'll actually link in the YouTube video. So if you're listening on audio, if you head over to our YouTube channel, The Square Gamers, and look for our podcast there, I'll link this article in the description. But they brought up a good point. And the point was, like companies like Bethesda or Rockstar with GTA, when they make these remastered versions, they put all the DLC into the game. Now, they didn't do that with this Call of Duty Remastered. You have to pay additional, $15 for the map pack?
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
No, that's a problem. There should be no reason why a video game that's 6, 7 years old now, to the age of a toddler, that we have to pay for maps that old. That's ridiculous. That shows, I think, so that's a typical Activision money grabbing move there, in my opinion. I think that is, what gives Activision a bad name are things like that. Like, you can't even include the map pack for the $40 price. So there's where I have the issue for me. Because if you compare it to every other remastered game, they're including all the DLC. It's essentially the definitive edition of whatever game they're remastering, whether it be Sleeping Dogs or Ratchet and Clank. Or like a Darksiders. It includes, the DLC, whatever new items are included. Because why are you gonna, why are you gonna pay, almost half the price of the game for multiplayer maps? Like, that makes no sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, once you figure the $39.99 cost plus the $15, you're at $55, just $5 off, the mark of what a standard retail game goes for at $60. So this is something that, man, that's a hard swallow. $15, like maybe, like if they wanted to charge like maybe $5, I can see that, but 15, man, that's really, really steep. And this standalone remaster is coming 9 months after the launch of Infinite Warfare, which some people are suggesting that this was a strategy that Activision had the whole time, and it was a way for them to get people to buy Infinite Warfare that probably wouldn't have done so, because that game was kind of mediocre to say the least, and Call of Duty veterans, they're not really on those servers anymore playing that game. What were your thoughts on Infinite Warfare? I don't think you liked it very much, did you?
I mean, the campaign was like I said, the campaign was pretty good, but I'm not I'm not trying to pay $60 for a campaign. I ended up red boxing the game and spending a weekend on it. We played the multiplayer beta, didn't like it. So I knew that wasn't a game that was going to keep my attention for too long. I think that was a savvy move by Activision, including the remaster with the price or with that game, and just keeping it to where you have to buy this edition of this game in order to play the remaster. We've seen it done before. The original Crackdown, well, we haven't seen it done to this extent. So Activision took it to another level, right? We've seen it done with like the original Crackdown with the beta for Halo, for the newest Halo game, where you bought a Crackdown, then you got the beta for Halo. We've seen it with like Zone of the Enders and Metal Gear Solid, where you would have the Metal Gear Solid demo with the Zone of the Enders game. So that caused people that probably wouldn't have purchased the game to come and try that out. But those were demos. Those were betas. Those were something free that's included in the game to entice you to play. It wasn't, an extra $20 that you had to pay for a remaster. So that's a completely different level that Activision put it on. And I think that's why everyone's got a bad taste in their mouth. Had this have been, like a free pack-in or something like that, or maybe, you get to play, the first couple missions of the game for the remastered, and then they'll release the full version later, type thing, then, maybe people will be like, you know what, I'll buy it, and then I'll see how the remaster's going, or something like that. But the fact that they made you pay extra for it, included in the game, that I think is the biggest issue.
Yeah, for sure. Now I was reading what this one guy was saying on the internet, and he was basically saying he was wondering why people are complaining, because when this game originally came out, it retailed for $60, and now here it is many years later. What'd you say, 6 or 7 years? Yeah. So you figure a game that you had no problem paying $60 for 6-7 years ago, it gets fully remastered. It's something that gamers have been asking for, and then when Activision finally pulls the trigger and does so, now people want to complain because Activision's charging basically the full sticker price for. I kind of can side with this guy, because that's how I feel about it. It is something that I've always wanted. There's a lot of games that I wish that would get remastered and put onto the PS4 or the Xbox One, and I would have no problem shelling out $60. What do you think about that? Like what this guy's saying. Like, does he have a point, or are you still pretty firm and no, it should be $40 and no more?
Let me correct myself. It is not 6 or 7 years. This game was released November 5th of 2007. So this is the decade. It'll be a decade of this game being out on the market. On November 5th. That makes it even worse that you have to essentially pay the same price you paid 10 years ago for a remastered version of the game. Damn. In my opinion, I don't feel like if you're selling a remastered version of a game, it shouldn't be the full price of a new IP. It's just, to me, it doesn't make sense for the consumer to do that.
Well, then going back to what I was saying about GTA 5 Remastered, if I'm not mistaken, didn't that come out at the full $60 retail?
Well, the difference is GTA 5 had a Xbox 360 version, then the next year the Xbox One came out, so they released an Xbox One version, and it did come out for $60. You are correct. But the difference there is it wasn't a remaster. It was just kind of that was last generation's version. This is this generation's version.
How is that any different than this? If you really think about it, how is that any different than this? Because
then it's not a 10-year game. The game's not 10 years old. This is a brand new. That was a brand new game that was only a year old that they released on the new consoles because people aren't doing what Xbox is doing now, where you can get your old games and playing on a new console. So in order to get the GTA 5 experience, you had to buy the new game. That's essentially what they're doing. That is not the same as saying we're gonna take this 10-year-old classic, remaster the multiplayer maps, and then charge you extra for the multiplayer maps as if it's brand new DLC, and I have it add up to the $55. That's totally different than what Rockstar did with Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah. Now, in this remastered version, are you aware of any did they? If I'm not mistaken, they added nighttime maps that weren't nighttime before. Is that accurate, or am I making that up?
I believe that's part of the map pack, but I will I'll double check that.
Yeah. This is one of those games that I have really fond memories of. Back in the day, we had this nice little apartment out in Longwood, Florida, and my buddy Hutch came over, and I remember us staying up for pretty much the entirety of the evening, just drinking beers and playing the I forget what the actual mode was called, but it was co-op, and you had to kind of make it through the level undetected, and we failed miserably over and over and over again. But this is something that I would kind of definitely be hyped for, but I just don't think that very many gamers that I play with would make the purchase. I think everyone's taken that approach where they want to teach Activision a lesson and make sure they never do something like this again. And this is one of those games that kind of live and die by the multiplayer, so if I don't have anyone to play with, I'm probably going to take a hard pass on it. Now, one thing that I saw kind of sprout up on the internet is there's always this hope that people asking maybe they would do a collection of all the Black Ops games, so 1, 2, and 3, and make a collection and sell that for $60. Being that this is one game remastered for $55, I'm sure it's pretty safe to say we'll never see that collection. What do you think, Pedro? If we did, it'd probably be over $100.
No, I mean, I think it's possible that you can see that. I think it's very possible that you can see that. I think that Activision is doing a test case with this and seeing what consumers want. And once they see that consumers aren't gonna, or if they see, I'm not gonna say once they see, because the thing with gamers is we like to complain a lot, but we still end up buying that game that we complained about. So I'm going to take a wait and see approach to see what the NPD numbers say when this drops. But I have a feeling that they will see the gamers aren't going to respond well to how they're pricing this remaster. And then they'll probably come out with a make good, Black Ops 1 and 2, maybe something along those lines for the gamers that want the Black Ops series. I wasn't a big fan of the Black Ops series, but Also, I did find the variety map. So the variety map pack for Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered includes 4 remastered multiplayer maps from the original game, plus 10 rare supply drops. It says, re-experience some of the most epic maps in Modern Warfare history, including Creek, which is a wide-open village ravaged by combat where concealment is the difference between life and death. Broadcast, an enemy communications building with confined corridors and wide-open parking lots. Chinatown, a foggy downtown district lit by a full moon and the neon glow of the city. And Kill House, a tiny warehouse for maximum close quarters chaos. So it does not seem like these are remastered maps in nighttime. These are just basically regularly remastered maps.
Interesting. Okay, so I made that up then. I thought I saw that somewhere, but clearly not. Now, kind of one thing that I wanted to close this episode on, and I found this kind of interesting. So I went back and checked out the Metacritic score when this game originally launched back on Xbox 360. Metacritic score was 94%, so super high for just a first-person shooter, with a user score of 8.5. So then I went over and I checked out the remastered score, and right now that's sitting at a 83 Metacritic score, but the user score is a 6.8. Why do you think that a game that's essentially better than its predecessor, or not even predecessor, but its originator? Why do you think this score is so low on the user score side? Do you think that's because of the paywall and how they were forced to buy the Infinity Warfare game?
I'm pretty sure that's what it is, man. I don't see, they're not changing the controls or anything either, so it's like, why would you just downvote it for no reason?
Yeah. One of the things I always remembered when playing this game is when you would get too many players in one area and too many frag grenades were thrown, it would cause the frame rate just to drop like big time. And there were a lot of times where I'd get like a cheap death just simply because my frame rate was worse, than the person next to me that didn't come in when all these frags went off. So with this remastered version, you got a more stable frame rate. I think it's locked. Is it locked 30 frames? Yeah, locked 30 frames. So that's something to factor in. But yeah, I mean, like I was saying earlier, nobody I know is going to grab it. So this is going to be a hard pass for me. And you said pretty much the same thing, right? You're going to pass on it?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm looking at the Metacritic right now. April 2nd of 2017, some dude named DG Drox7 gave it a 5 for the Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered. The first sentence on here says, "I was ready to give this game a 10, but recent developments prevented me from doing so." And then it says the first sign of how this game was tied to Infinite Warfare. But around Christmas last year, my brother found the Legacy Edition for $60. Not a bad deal. I mean, you get 2 full games for $60, right? Then he goes on to say how good the campaign is. But then he says multiplayer is where it's all messed up. Think you'll relive some nostalgia, but in next gen, think again. Activision thought it was a good idea to bring the stuff in current Call of Duties like lag and bad hit detection back here. And what else they brought here too? Supply drops. First, they said it's just cosmetic. Then they introduced guns that weren't in the original game as supply drop exclusives. That's right. Modern Warfare Remastered has become pay to win. Oh, that's terrible. Then he goes on to say the final straw, reselling the variety map pack for $15. The original was $10, so it's $5 more than the original DLC. Think about that. He said, after that I quit. Do you know of any remastered game that does this? The Last of Us doesn't. Batman Return to Arkham doesn't. But you get some supply drops. That's why it costs more. You want, yeah, supply drops that weren't in the original side. The extent Call of Duty fanboys defend this. Hey.
Damn.
That's
I think
and that right there is the representation of why you have a 6.6 user score. Or 6.8 user
so
score.
I wonder if there's a way to pretty much like keep all that stuff out of multiplayer games, like maybe some classic mode to keep the new, weapons and those supply drops out of it. Because yeah, like I mean, if I were to review the game, I would say a lot of similar things. Because if this is a game that I do have 10 years of nostalgia on, I want to play it that same way. Yeah, and I'm not the biggest fan of the supply drops. To me, it adds a lot of balance issues to the game. And if this game 10 years later gets remastered, you would figure the hitboxes would be perfect, you know what I mean? Like yeah. That seems pretty pretty shitty to say the least. But yeah, I mean, this was my take on it. Hard pass. You said the same thing. Hard pass for you as well. A little bit of shorter episode this week, guys. We just pretty much wanted to cover this Call of Duty topic. It's pretty hot right now. I know there's a pretty big cult following out there for Call of Duty franchise here in North America. Actually, bro, you know that Call of Duty is the number one game for North America in terms of hours logged this year. I saw a little slice. I forget what site it was, but yeah, North America, Call of Duty, their servers are the most active. Does that surprise you?
Yeah, absolutely, it surprises me because I think that our echo chamber is that Call of Duty has lost a step or two. So we kind of think that they have, but the rest of the nation apparently doesn't think so. You would think that a game like a Destiny or a Battlefield would kind of take those players away from the Call of Duty landscape, but apparently it didn't. So that's good to hear.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we thank everybody for listening this week. As usual, check us out over on Facebook at The Square Gamers. We have some really fun, interesting conversations over there. Usually there's a little breadcrumb trail in that group as to what me and you're going to be talking on each week-to-week podcast. So make sure you head over there. Check us out on YouTube. If you're listening to audio-only version, check us out on YouTube. We do some other fun videos over there. We're The Square Gamers on YouTube. Pretty easy to find us. You got anything to close with, Pedro?
No, you pretty much covered it all, man.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening, and we'll see you next week for another episode of the Jay and Dro Show. Later.
Peace.